Farmer finds WW2 bomber buried in his field. What's inside was never meant to be seen again. As dawn broke over the sprawling wheat fields, sunlight glimmered like gold, casting long shadows across the land. Samuel Hargrove, a weary farmer with calloused hands and the heart of a warrior, felt his loyal German shepherd, Rex, tugging at his jeans, sensing something unusual below the earth. With a heavy sigh, he turned the plow, unaware that beneath the soil lay a remnant of a forgotten battle, a WW2 bomber, its metal skin rusted yet resolute, shrouded in the whispers of history. Curiosity sparked within him, mingling with a deep-seated dread. What secrets did this hallowed wreck hold? As he brushed away the dirt, Samuel unearthed more than just machinery. He unveiled ghosts of the past, memories that were never meant to resurface. The weight of discovery bore down upon him, intertwined with the courage needed to confront the truth buried within. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty frontier. Jacob stood at the edge of town, his weathered hands gripping the reins of his horse while his loyal German shepherd Rex sat sentinel by his side. A sense of unease settled in his chest as he watched the townsfolk hustle about, their laughter mingling with the wind. Unbeknownst to them, whispers of a tragedy hung heavy in the air, and Jacob felt the weight of loss creeping into his bones. It was a familiar ache, one that stirred memories of a life once full and now fractured. As night fell, the stars blinked into existence, their cold light a stark contrast to the warm glow emanating from the tavern. Jacob hesitated, heart pounding, recalling the last haunting words from his late brother, a promise made under the same sky, one that had since turned to ash. Rex nudged his leg, sensing the turmoil within his master. The dog's presence was a grounding force, a reminder that loyalty remained even in the depths of despair. Together they moved toward the tavern, where a confrontation awaited, cloaked in the pretense of camaraderie. Inside, laughter rang out, but Jacob's ears were attuned to the subtle undercurrents of conversation. He caught fragments of anxious murmurs, glances exchanged like silent warnings. A restless energy crackled through the room, setting his instincts on high alert. Rex remained close, muscles tense, eyes darting around as if to punctuate Jacob's growing suspicions. The air was thick with secrets, and Jacob's heart raced as he searched for a familiar face among the crowd, recognizing that every smile could mask a darker truth. His gaze landed on Samuel, an old friend turned adversary, deep in conversation with men clad in shadows. The flickering lanterns cast elongated shapes, and Jacob's heart sank as he deciphered the way their hands lingered near holstered weapons. Rex growled low, a warning that reverberated through the stillness. Jacob clenched his fists, torn between confronting Samuel and retreating. The past had a way of entwining with the present, and tonight it threatened to rip apart the fragile threads holding together both his sanity and his purpose. In that moment, Jacob understood that this was not merely about vengeance. It was about the path to redemption. The lines drawn in the sand were shifting, and the weight of his choices pressed down on him, suffocating yet liberating. As he took a step forward, Rex securely by his side, he felt the ground beneath him steady. The echoes of laughter faded, leaving only the thrum of his heartbeat as he prepared for the upcoming clash of old wounds and buried truths. The frontier was unforgiving, but within its vastness lay the potential for healing, if only he could summon the courage to face it. The sun hung low in the sky, casting elongated shadows over the rugged landscape as Jacob knelt beside a curious depression in the earth. His loyal German shepherd Rex stood alert by his side, ears perked and nostrils flaring as he sensed something amiss. The dirt seemed freshly disturbed, the edges crumbling like fragile dreams. Jacob's heart raced, thrumming in time with the pulse of possibility. With each handful he sifted through, an unmistakable feeling clawed at his mind, a whisper of the past, a buried secret yearning to be unearthed. As the last grains slipped through his fingers, something glinted beneath a tangle of roots. Jacob's breath hitched, the weight of anticipation compressing his chest. He leaned closer, brushing away the damp earth with the back of his hand. What emerged was a small, tarnished locket, its surface etched with intricate designs that spoke of a time long gone. He turned it over, revealing a faded photograph tucked inside, a face he had seen only in old newspaper clippings. The resemblance was striking. It was a woman rumored to have vanished from this very region decades ago. Rex whined softly, sensing his master's shift in mood. Jacob's fingers trembled as he held the locket, feeling the cold metal against his skin. Memories swirled in his mind, fragments of stories told by the firelight, tales of love, loss, and whispered legends. What had happened to her? The lingering scent of pine and damp earth felt heavy with unanswered questions, and Jacob knew he had stumbled onto something sacred. The thrill of discovery was overshadowed by a growing dread that perhaps he had unearthed a truth better left buried. Cautiously, he stood up, scanning the horizon as shadows stretched across the valley. The world felt different now, charged with a potent energy that made every rustle in the brush echo with significance. Rex abruptly barked, snapping Jacob from his reverie. He turned, following the dog's gaze to a sliver of movement in the trees. Someone else had been here, someone who may have seen or known something. The thrill of the chase sparked within him, knitting together purpose and fear. He pressed the locket into his pocket, the weight pressing against his heart like a promise he couldn't ignore. With renewed determination, Jacob set off, Rex bounding at his side, the two of them now unwilling partners in a quest for clarity. Each step felt like a dance with destiny, the path ahead murky yet inviting. The mountains loomed, ancient sentinels that had witnessed countless stories unfold. He could almost hear the echoes of those who had come before him, a haunting melody that called him deeper into the mystery. In the silence of the wilderness, Jacob dared to hope that the answers he sought lay just beyond the next rise, waiting to be discovered in the dirt. The dawn broke slowly over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the sprawling fields. Jacob, a tall man with weathered hands, stepped out of his modest cabin, his loyal German shepherd Rex at his side. The air was crisp, carrying the earthy scent of tilled soil, a reminder of the long hours ahead. As Jacob surveyed his land, he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, the quiet murmur of the wind whispering promises of both bountiful harvests and endless toil. Today was not just another day. It carried an unspoken tension that lingered just beneath the surface. With the sun climbing higher, Jacob moved toward the barn, his footsteps crunching on the gravel path. Rex trotted beside him, tail wagging with the innocence that only a dog could possess, unaware of the storm brewing within his master. Inside, the scent of hay and fresh feed enveloped him, a familiar comfort. As he filled the trough, Jacob's mind wandered to the shadows lurking at the edge of his property. Farmers spoke in hushed tones of strange figures appearing at night, stealing more than just livestock. He could not shake the feeling that something was amiss, gnawing at him like an itch he couldn't scratch. By midday, Jacob stood at the edge of his pasture, surveying the young crops that were just beginning to peek through the rich earth. The warmth of the sun kissed his skin, but a chill ran down his spine, drawing his thoughts back to the mysterious happenings. Rex whined softly, sensing his master's unease. Jacob knelt beside a tender shoot, inspecting it closely. That's when he noticed it. Footprints leading away from the fields, deeper into the woods. His heart raced. They weren't human, nor were they animal. They were too large, a clue hinting at an unseen danger lurking nearby. As twilight stretched its fingers across the sky, Jacob and Rex returned from the fields, weariness hanging over him like a thick fog. He found solace in the quiet of the cabin, the familiar creaking of the floorboards underfoot, bringing him a momentary reprieve. But as the darkness settled, his thoughts turned once more to the footprints, the intruder's path. He couldn't ignore the urgency gnawing at his mind. The land was his livelihood, and he would protect it fiercely. Rex stayed close, sensing the tension within him, his loyalty unwavering even as night fell. With a lantern flickering beside him, Jacob sat at the edge of his porch, staring into the encroaching shadows. The chirping of crickets filled the air, a symphony of the night, yet an ominous silence also crept in. He could hear the rustling in the trees, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. Rex growled low, a warning, and the sound sent a shiver through Jacob's spine. The threat was real, and tonight he would confront it. He clutched the lantern tighter, its light flickering defiantly against the dark, a beacon of his determination to uncover the mystery that had invaded his home. The wind whistled through the barren landscape, carrying with it the whispers of the past. As dusk settled, Shadows stretched across the rocky terrain, cloaking the world in an eerie stillness. Nathan stood at the edge of a weather-beaten cliff, his brow furrowed with doubt. Beside him, Max, his faithful German shepherd, remained alert, ears pricked and eyes scanning the horizon. Together they had faced countless trials, every step a testament to their unwavering bond. But tonight, an unshakable sense of foreboding hung in the air, as if the very earth was warning him of what lay ahead. Nathan recalled their first days together, the helpless pup with matted fur that had trailed after him, eager to please. That same energy now manifested in a fierce loyalty, a protective instinct forged through shared experiences. He remembered the nights spent huddled by the campfire, Max's warm presence warding off the cold and the shadows of loneliness. But the echoes of laughter had faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that seeped into his soul. Every flicker of movement from the distant trees sent a shiver down his spine, enhancing Nathan's anxiety. The search for the missing rancher haunted him, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. As the night deepened, Nathan felt the pull of the unknown tighten around him, a noose of uncertainty. He glanced down at Max, who nudged his hand with a firm but gentle insistence. The dog seemed to sense his turmoil, his unwavering gaze filled with understanding. It was a silent conversation, one that needed no words. In that moment, Nathan felt a surge of gratitude, a fierce determination igniting within him. They needed to find the truth, but the truth might lead them into darkness. As they descended the rugged path, the terrain grew treacherous, each step an echo of Nathan's inner conflict. Shadows danced in the periphery, and he could almost hear faint whispers carried by the wind, remnants of secrets buried deep within the land. Max stopped suddenly, his hackles raised, a low growl emanating from his throat. Nathan's heart raced, and he crouched down beside his companion, scanning the dim surroundings. The tension was palpable, the air thick with anticipation, and it struck him then. Whatever lay ahead would test the very fabric of their bond. Suddenly, a rustle in the brush snapped their attention, and Nathan tightened his grip on the lantern, casting flickering light into the darkness. Max barked, bounding forward as Nathan called him back, anxiety clawing at his chest. He had to focus, to rein in the fear that threatened to consume him. The dog turned, eyes glinting with fierce loyalty, ready to defend against an unseen threat. Nathan straightened, heart hammering, the instinct to protect his companion igniting a fire within him. Together they would unravel the mystery lurking ahead, side by side, as they always had been. The sun dipped below the jagged silhouette of the mountains, casting long shadows that danced across the valley below. Thomas stood at the edge of the vast expanse, his German shepherd Max beside him, nose twitching as if sensing the weight of history in the air. Memories flooded him like the cool evening breeze, as he recalled the laughter of his younger brother, who had vanished without a trace years ago. Each rustle of the wind felt like a whisper, urging him to delve deeper into the mysteries that lay buried beneath the surface of this land they once called home. As twilight settled, Thomas's heart raced, his pulse echoing the rhythm of the distant river. He had stumbled upon a weathered journal in the attic, pages yellowed and ink faded, revealing cryptic entries that hinted at secrets long since buried. The words seemed to dance before his eyes, revealing a world of hidden caverns and ancient trails. With Max leading the way, he found himself retracing the steps of his brother, guided not just by the ink on the page, but by an unshakable bond forged in childhood adventures. The path ahead was uncertain, yet hope flickered like a candle in a storm. The deeper they ventured into the forest, the denser the air became, thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. Every snap of a twig made Thomas's heart skip, the feeling of being watched settling over him like a heavy cloak. Max barked suddenly, pulling him from his thoughts. His dog was on alert, ears perked, as a faint echo of voices whispered through the trees. Thomas pushed aside his apprehensions, driven by a mix of desperation and curiosity. What if the clues he sought were closer than he dared imagine, waiting just beyond the veil of the familiar? Suddenly they stumbled upon an old mining site, rusted tools scattered like forgotten dreams. A chilling sensation gripped Thomas as he approached a gaping hole in the earth, the mouth of darkness swallowing the fading light. Shoved into the crevice was a broken locket, glinting in the remaining daylight. With trembling hands, he picked it up, recognizing the worn photograph inside. It was his brother. The realization hit him hard. He had been here, in this place where shadows lingered, where innocence once roamed free but now was steeped in silence. As night fell, the world transformed, the trees looming like giants in the moonlight. A haunting howl echoed through the valley, Max's instinctive growl vibrating in his chest. Thomas felt a storm of emotions surge within him: fear, anger, longing. He could taste the bitterness of unanswered questions. With every heartbeat, the past clawed at him, urging him to continue despite the darkness that surrounded them. He knew that somewhere in this land, the echoes of his brother's life remained, and he would not rest until he uncovered the truth hidden beneath the earth, illuminating the shadows of their intertwined fates. The sun hung low in the amber sky, casting elongated shadows across the rugged landscape. With his dog, Axel, at his heels, Thomas knelt by the weathered ground, heart pounding with anticipation. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, mingling with the whisper of wind through the trees. A sense of purpose surged within him, ignited by the stories of lost treasures buried deep beneath the soil. Each rustle of leaves sent a thrill through him, but doubt lingered like a ghost. What if he was chasing mere legends? As he scraped away the dirt with his hands, stones crunched beneath his fingers, and a glimmer caught his eye. With a swift motion, he unearthed a fragment of rusted metal, oddly shaped yet undeniably significant. Axel pricked his ears, sensing his owner's rising excitement, and nudged a nearby clump of earth with his snout. Thomas's breath hitched as he realized this wasn't just debris. It felt like an invitation to delve deeper, to solve a riddle that had haunted the town for generations. The mystery wrapped around him like the heavy cloak of night, both exhilarating and terrifying. The sun dipped further, shadows stretching like secrets across the land. A chill crept into the air, a reminder of the darkness soon to envelop his world. Thomas paused, gazing at the horizon, where the sky faded into hues of violet and indigo. Memories flooded back, his father's stories by the fire, eyes sparkling with the thrill of adventure. He clenched the metal fragment tightly, feeling its weight, as if it held the echoes of those long gone. The burden of hope clashed with an undercurrent of fear. Could he really uncover the truth, or was he treading paths best left undisturbed? With renewed determination, Thomas resumed digging, each shovelful of earth revealing remnants of the past. Suddenly, Axel let out a low growl, his gaze fixed intently on a cluster of rocks nearby. Thomas's heart raced. There was something there, concealed beneath nature's shroud. He carefully moved closer, a sense of urgency driving him. The atmosphere thickened, and he felt as if unseen eyes were watching, waiting for him to unveil the enigma buried in the soil. What lay hidden beneath the surface could change everything: his future, his past, and perhaps his understanding of his own place in this unforgiving land. As he dug deeper, the ground gave way to an unexpected hollow, a space that felt alive with secrets. Thomas hesitated, unsure of what to expect. He brushed aside the debris, revealing what appeared to be an ornate chest, its edges adorned with intricate carvings. A thrill coursed through him, mingling with dread. The legends spoke of cursed fortunes and spectral guardians. Axel whined softly, nudging Thomas as if to say there was no turning back now. With trembling hands, he reached for the lock, the metallic cold sending shivers down his spine. The first dig had unearthed more than he ever anticipated. Now he had to confront the truths buried alongside the treasure. Beneath the sprawling canopy of pines, the sun filtered through the branches, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Samuel crouched low, his heart pounding in rhythm with the crisp rustling leaves. He could feel the weight of his German shepherd, Rex, by his side. The dog's ears perked up, alert to the little noises that surrounded them. A distant snap of a twig sent a shiver up Samuel's spine. He couldn't shake the feeling that secrets hung in the air, woven into the very fabric of this wild place. Every instinct urged him onward, deeper into the woods where darkness stirred. As he ventured further, the outline of an old cabin began to materialize through the foliage, its weathered logs steeped in the scent of moss and decay. Each step brought memories flooding back, his father's stories of lost souls and buried truths. But this cabin felt different. It was a silent witness to something darker. The rotting door creaked open as if inviting him in, and Samuel glanced at Rex, whose deep, intelligent eyes seemed to question their fate. With a deep breath, he pushed the door wide and stepped inside, the scent of earth mixed with something far less organic hitting him like a wall. Inside, the light faded into gloom, only punctuated by the soft glow of a faded oil lantern. The walls were adorned with faded photographs, their subjects hauntingly familiar. Samuel's pulse quickened as he approached one in particular, a picture of a man with the same steely gaze that once belonged to his lost brother. Questions swirled within him, a tempest of confusion and hope. What had happened here? Why had his brother been drawn to this forsaken place? Rex growled softly, as if sensing danger lurking just beyond the thin veneer of dust covering the floor. Samuel's fingers brushed against a peeling map pinned to the wall. It sketched out the area surrounding the cabin, with markings in places he had never explored, ominously labeled with names that felt like echoes of the past. He studied it intently, piecing together the puzzle that had haunted him for years. Memories of whispered warnings and hushed conversations echoed in his ears, a cacophony of voices urging him to leave things alone. Yet the pull of the unknown was stronger. He felt trapped between loyalty to his brother's memory and the stirring desire to uncover the truth, whatever the cost. Suddenly, a low growl emanated from Rex, breaking the tension. Samuel turned, heart racing, just as a shadow flickered at the cabin's entrance. The air thickened with anticipation. The secrets he sought were no longer hidden in darkness. The figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the fading light, a stranger with secrets of his own. Samuel's grip tightened on the map, each beat of his heart resonating with the unspoken challenge that lay ahead. Would he find the answers he sought, or would he discover that some truths are better left buried? The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the rugged landscape. Thomas stood atop the ridge, his rugged silhouette outlined against the fiery sky, flanked by his loyal German shepherd Rex. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very earth held its breath. He squinted into the distance where dark clouds swelled ominously, pregnant with secrets. A strange energy pulsed through him, stirring memories of his youth when he gazed up at the stars, dreaming of the stories they held. Little did he know, the heavens were about to reveal something that would change everything. As the wind whipped around him, a distant rumble echoed through the valley, drawing Rex's ears upright. The dog, usually confident and unflinching, began to whine softly, his instincts alerting him to a shift in the atmosphere. Thomas turned to his companion, feeling an uncharacteristic shiver crawl down his spine. He'd always prided himself on being a man of the land, grounded and resolute, but the growing tempest felt like a harbinger of ominous tidings. He crouched down, meeting Rex's gaze, seeking reassurance in the understanding eyes of his canine partner. Both men, one human, one beast, shared a bond forged in loyalty, yet now felt the weight of the unknown pressing upon them. Without warning, a violent flash illuminated the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder that rattled the very bones of the earth. Rex barked and bounded toward a nearby outcrop, while Thomas remained rooted in place, transfixed by a single disembodied thought that pierced through his mind. Look closer. He forced himself to breathe, his heart racing. The clouds parted, revealing an ethereal glimmer in the darkening sky, a shimmering silhouette that flickered like a beacon. It was unlike anything he'd seen before, and an inexplicable urge compelled him to step toward its magnetic glow, heart pounding with the thrill of discovery. The moment hung heavy with a surreal beauty as Thomas approached. The shimmering object descended slowly, revealing a craft adorned with symbols that danced like flames, casting an iridescent light across the dusty ground. Rex growled low, a deep rumble emanating from his chest, sensing the tension in the air. The landscape transformed into a realm of shadows and reflections. Was this a warning, a promise, or a curse? Thomas felt an undeniable pull in his gut, a sense that the answers he sought were drawn toward him like moths to the flame, igniting an insatiable thirst for understanding that teetered dangerously on the edge of fear. As he reached out, fingertips grazing the cool metal, a vision flooded his mind, a childhood memory intertwined with a flicker of something altogether alien. Thomas was back in his small hometown, a boy staring at the night sky beside his father, dreaming of adventure and possibilities. The craft hummed, resonating with his pulse, awakening a ripple of emotions he thought had long been buried. The boundary between past and present blurred, and he felt an unshakable bond with the mystery unfolding before him. He glanced down at Rex, who stood resolute at his side, a reminder that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united against the darkness of uncertainty. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the worn earth of a forgotten battlefield. Jonah crouched beside a weathered tree stump, its gnarled roots twisting like the memories that haunted him. His German shepherd, Rex, sat alert, ears perked, sensing the electric tension in the air. Jonah's fingers traced the edge of an old rusted helmet half buried in the dirt, remnants of a time long past. Ghostly echoes of laughter and gunfire reverberated in his mind, each one pulling him deeper into a chasm of remorse and unresolved questions about loved ones lost and battles fought. Every creak of the wind felt like a whisper, a secret carried from the lips of soldiers who had seen too much. Jonah's heart raced, heavy with unspoken apologies to those who had fought beside him. Rex shifted, letting out a low growl, and Jonah instinctively reached for the comforting warmth of his companion. It was as if the dog could sense the weight of their shared history, the unhealed wounds of war that lingered in the air like smoke. As twilight cloaked the landscape, Jonah struggled to reconcile the battlefield's silence with the cacophony of his memories, wrestling with an invisible foe. A sudden rustle from the thicket snapped Jonah back to reality. His breath quickened, and he instinctively commanded Rex to stay close. The shadows danced eerily as a figure emerged, an old soldier, his face lined with the scars of survival. Jonah's heart sank. The man bore a striking resemblance to Thomas, his comrade who had perished years ago in a violent ambush. The apparition seemed real, yet Jonah couldn't ascertain if he was a mere figment of his imagination or a spirit seeking closure. The tension was palpable as the ghostly figure locked eyes with Jonah, a silent exchange that sent chills down his spine. "Why did you leave us?" The specter's voice echoed softly through the stillness, a question laden with betrayal. Jonah's throat tightened, the blood pounding in his ears drowning out all reason. He felt the urge to explain, his desperate decision in the heat of battle, the instinct that kicked in when survival was the only option. Yet words fell silent on his lips, swallowed by regret. Rex growled softly, as if echoing Jonah's turmoil, sensing the weight of unfulfilled promises and the haunting burden of loyalty betrayed. The air grew thick with emotion, as the past intertwined unrelentingly with the present. With each passing moment, Jonah knew he had a choice to make. He could turn away, retreat into the safety of denial, or stand firm in the face of the memories that had shaped him. As he faced the specter, the world around him faded, leaving only the two of them, tethered by shared pain. Rex remained steadfast, a grounding presence against the tempest of Jonah's internal struggle. In the depths of that stillness, he found a flicker of bravery, the resolve to confront the ghosts rather than flee, an act of defiance against the shadows of the past that had long dictated his life. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch into every corner of the town. Whispers filled the air, nodding in the cool breeze as townsfolk gathered in small clusters, their faces etched with unease. Outside the dusty saloon, men tipped their hats lower while women clutched their shawls tighter around their shoulders. A chill settled deep in their bones, as if the very earth beneath their feet had shifted in response to the event that had just transpired. In the distance, a lonely howl echoed, sending a shiver through the crowd. Mark stood at the edge of the group, his loyal German shepherd, Rex, at his side, sensing the tension that crackled in the air. Faces turned towards him, eyes questioning and wary. He could feel their suspicion seeping into his skin like the fading light. The weight of the recent discovery, the body found near the river, hung heavy in the atmosphere. Townsfolk exchanged glances, some with pity, others with a hint of accusation. It was a burden he could not shake, making it difficult to breathe as he considered the implications of their gaze. A murmur rose from the crowd as the sheriff stepped into view, his weathered face grim. "We've got to find out who did this," he said, voice steady but strained. Mark felt the urgency in those words, the call to action igniting a flicker of determination in him. He couldn't ignore the pull of the mystery that surrounded the death. Rex nudged him gently, a reminder of loyalty, urging him to move, to take hold of the reins of destiny before it spiraled into chaos. A shared glance between them spoke volumes, a silent pact forged in the heat of uncertainty. As the sheriff detailed the investigation, a woman's voice cut through the crowd, trembling yet fierce. "This is no accident." Her eyes blazed with conviction as she pointed towards Mark. "You were the last one seen near the river." Gasps rippled among the townsfolk, and Mark's heart raced. It struck him like a bolt. He had been there, wrestling with his own demons, and now they mistook his pain for guilt. The world around him felt as if it tilted, the weight of suspicion making him dizzy. Rex growled softly, sensing his master's turmoil, a guardian amidst the rising tide of fear. With the darkness settling in, Mark's resolve hardened. He could not allow himself to be swept away by the tide of accusation. As the crowd began to disperse, whispers of doubt still clung to the night air. He felt the pulse of urgency in his veins, the call for truth igniting a fire within him. He wouldn't run. He would confront this storm head-on. "Rex, let's go," he muttered. The dog's ears perked at the command, muscles coiling in anticipation. Together, under the cloak of night, they'd unearth the secrets that lay buried, for in the heart of the frontier, justice awaited. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty trail. Nathan clenched the leather reins as he rode, the rhythmic clop of hooves punctuating the stillness. Beside him, Rex, his loyal German shepherd, sniffed the air, ears perked at the slightest rustle. Nathan's mind was a tempest of thoughts, each darker than the last. A lingering unease gripped him. Whispers of betrayal lingered among the settlers. He felt their stares, heavy and scrutinizing, as if they could peel away his skin to expose the secrets he buried deep. As they approached the dilapidated barn, he spotted a figure slinking into the shadows, a silhouette that sent a chill racing down his spine. Rex halted, growling softly, muscles taut with instinct. Nathan dismounted, heart hammering in his chest. He approached the barn cautiously, every creak of the wooden floorboards amplifying the tension hanging in the air. The scent of hay mixed with something metallic, a bitter taste that formed a knot in his throat. What he had dismissed as mere gossip now looked like a living nightmare. Something was very wrong. Inside, the sparse light revealed scattered tools and empty stalls, but there was an unsettling absence of life. Nathan's heart raced as he moved deeper into the darkness, drawn by an invisible hand. Suddenly, a glint caught his eye. A flash of silver nestled among the shadows. He bent low, retrieving a blood-stained knife, its handle warm from the recent use. Panic surged within him, but he forced it down. This was not random. It was a message, one that implied danger was closer than he had anticipated. Rex darted past him, barking furiously, and Nathan's instinct kicked in. Together, they pursued the threat, weaving through the barn's labyrinth of hay bales and equipment. Nathan's breaths were shallow, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he navigated the dim space with the precision of a hunter. Each footstep was a countdown, each bark from Rex an echo of courage. Just outside, he spotted the flicker of a figure retreating into the tree line, the stolen shadows swallowing them whole. Determination surged within him, a fierce need to confront the unseen enemy lurking just beyond the reach of light. Outside, the twilight deepened, and Nathan squinted against the encroaching gloom, the knife still clutched in his hand. He could feel a shift in the air, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Rex stayed close, mirroring his tension, eyes scanning the tree line for any sign of movement. In that moment, he realized the stakes had never been higher. Trust was a fragile thread, ready to snap. Every face in their small community now loomed within the shadows, suspects in a web of deceit. Nathan took a resolute breath, steeling himself for the path ahead, knowing that to uncover the truth, he would have to confront not only danger but also the fragile bonds of brotherhood that might be forever altered. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain, as Tom leaned against the splintered wooden fence, his loyal German shepherd, Max, at his side. The day had been uneventful, the stillness of the sprawling frontier wrapping around him like a thick blanket, yet something stirred in the air, a whisper of change that set the hairs on the back of his neck on edge. Max's ears perked up, a low growl rumbling deep in his throat as he locked his gaze toward the tree line, a tension crackling like dry tinder. The sound of hooves echoed through the silence, a rhythmic pounding that grew louder, pulling Tom from his thoughts. He squinted into the fading light, the silhouette of a rider emerging from the shadowy pines. The figure approached with caution, the hooves of the horse sinking into the soft earth, each step careful, deliberate. Tom's heart quickened, a mix of curiosity and caution swirling within him. Who would be traveling these desolate paths at this hour? Something about the urgency in the rider's posture felt wrong, as if he was fleeing the demons of his past. As the rider drew closer, Tom's pulse raced. He could see the sun glinting off a worn leather coat and the glint of something metallic tucked into the man's belt. The stranger's face was hidden beneath a broad-brimmed hat, shadows obscuring his features. Tom tightened his grip on the shotgun resting against the fence, the weight of uncertainty settling heavily on his chest. Max growled louder now, muscles tensed, ready to defend. Yet, beneath the simmering tension, Tom felt an inexplicable pull toward the stranger. "Help me!" the man gasped, sliding off his horse, his legs buckling beneath him. The urgency in his voice cut through the tension like a knife. As he stumbled forward, Tom caught a glimpse of blood staining the man's shirt, vivid and glaring against the fabric. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to protect what little he had, but something deeper sparked within him, a flicker of empathy that could not be ignored. Max whined softly, as if sensing the weight of the man's plight. Tom stepped closer, the cool evening breeze carrying the scent of impending storms. "What happened?" he asked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The man's eyes, wild and desperate, locked onto Tom's. "They're coming," he managed, breathless and pained. "I didn't think I'd make it." The words hung heavy in the air, echoing with the promise of danger lurking just beyond the tree line. Tom's heart raced with the knowledge that nothing would ever be the same with this unexpected visitor at his doorstep. The sun dipped low over the rugged peaks, casting long shadows across the valley where Caleb knelt beside an ancient oak. His German shepherd, Titan, paced nearby, ears perked, sniffing the crisp air thick with the scent of pine. In his hands rested a weathered leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed and fragile, filled with spidery handwriting that whispered of forgotten tales. Caleb's heart raced as he deciphered cryptic sketches intermingled with notes, each twisting line hinting at a hidden treasure buried deep within the mountain's embrace. The thrill of the unknown tugged at his soul, igniting a spark that had long lain dormant. As he traced the outline of a map sketched deep within the journal, Caleb felt a twinge of doubt. Memories of his father flooded back, silent dinners and the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. A part of him longed for the bond that had frayed over time, yet another part relished this chance to step into the world his father had left behind. Titan whined softly, nudging Caleb's leg, urging him to rise. The dog's unwavering loyalty was a balm to his conflicted heart, grounding him in the present as the shadows of the past loomed large. With each turn of the page, Caleb's determination solidified. Clues began to emerge, tracing a path through treacherous ravines and dense thickets, leading them to a spot where few dared to tread. The landscape seemed to whisper secrets. The wind carried an almost palpable charge, a sense of purpose that sent shivers down his spine. He glanced at Titan, who cocked his head, eyes bright with an instinctive understanding that this adventure was more than just a quest for gold. It was a journey toward redemption, a chance to reclaim lost pieces of himself. The weight of the map pressed heavily against his chest as they trekked further into the wild. Each step resonated with unspoken promises, a vow to unearth not just buried riches but the buried parts of his spirit. Trees closed in around them, their gnarled branches forming an archway that felt like a passage through time itself. The air thickened as if the forest itself held its breath, and Caleb could almost hear his father's voice echoing in the rustling leaves, a call to bravery, a beckoning to confront the demons that had haunted him for so long. As dusk settled, the colors of the sky bled into one another, painting the horizon in hues of regret and longing. Caleb paused, gazing at Titan, who seemed to sense the gravity of the moment, standing steadfast as a sentinel in the gathering darkness. The unseen map was more than a guide to treasure. It was a lifeline connecting the past to the present. With a renewed sense of purpose, he tucked the journal into his coat pocket, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The journey had begun, and there was no turning back now. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the rugged terrain as Jonah trudged through the brittle underbrush, his faithful German shepherd, Rex, trotting beside him. A sense of unease settled in Jonah's gut, gnawing at him like the persistent chill in the autumn air. The small frontier settlement of Clearwater had seemed so inviting just weeks ago, but whispers of betrayal began to pool around him like dark clouds. He could feel the weight of eyes watching him from behind the aging wooden fences, the distrust palpable as he passed. Every bark from Rex sent a ripple of tension through the neighborhood, a reminder that loyalty was a fragile construct. A sudden rustle in the thicket snapped Jonah from his reverie. He instinctively tightened his grip on the rifle slung over his shoulder, the cold steel of flimsy reassurance against the unseen threats lurking in the shadows. Rex's ears perked up, the dog's powerful instincts honed sharp by the wilderness. They shared a silent understanding, a bond forged from countless treks through the wild, yet doubt nibbled at the edges of Jonah's mind. Had someone within the town turned against him? The local sheriff's warning echoed in his thoughts, each word heavy with implications. Trust was a currency he could no longer afford. As twilight descended, Jonah approached the old barn at the outskirts, where he had been tipped off about a clandestine meeting. The air was thick with the scent of damp hay and something acrid like burnt wood. He crouched low, using the cover of the evening shadows to blend in. Voices drifted toward him, muffled but laced with urgency. He felt his heart race, the adrenaline surging through him as Rex growled softly, sensing the tension in the air. Jonah's instincts screamed that he was on the brink of uncovering something significant, a betrayal that could unravel the very fabric of his new life. Peering through the gaps in the barn's weathered boards, Jonah caught sight of familiar faces. Men he believed he could trust were gathered in hushed tones, their expressions grim as they exchanged glances laden with secrets. He squinted, straining to catch every word, every nuance. Discussions of stolen supplies and missing livestock floated through the air, tinged with a sense of desperation that made his pulse throb in his ears. It was clear now. They were planning something sinister. His heart sank as the realization hit him like a cold slap. He wasn't just an outsider anymore. He was a target. With a rapid intake of breath, Jonah shifted back from the slats, urgency propelling him into the darkness outside. Rex remained poised, ready to defend. But Jonah knew their lives rested in a delicate balance. The bond they shared would be tested as never before, and this foreboding truth hung over him like a storm cloud. As he made his way back through the unforgiving landscape, Jonah's resolve hardened. He would expose the treachery lurking in Clearwater, and in doing so, he hoped to find not only the answers he sought, but also reclaim the trust that had been so carelessly fractured. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged landscape. Samuel could feel the chill creeping in as the warmth of day slipped away, and his German shepherd, Rex, walked steadfastly at his side. Each step crunched underfoot, his heart thumping in rhythm with the distant howl of the wind. He could almost hear the whispers of the past echoing through the hills, beckoning him forward. The fading light illuminated the weathered map clenched tightly in his hands, the faint ink lines tracing paths he hoped would lead him to the truth he sought. Memories of the old cabin swirled in Samuel's mind, every creak of its floorboards now an echo of his father's laughter, now lost to the winds of time. A twinge of anger bubbled up within him, mingling with the grief that had settled in his chest ever since he received that cryptic letter. Could it really be true? The thought gnawed at him, urging him to push deeper into the unknown. Rex paused, sensing the weight of his master's turmoil, and nudged his hand with a gentle encouragement, grounding him in the present and reminding him that he was not alone in this search. As they approached the clearing where the cabin once stood, the air changed, thick with an unsettling stillness. Samuel's pulse quickened, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. He scanned the landscape, searching for any sign of what had been lost or hidden. A glint of metal caught his eye, buried among the underbrush. Crouching down, he unearthed an old locket, tarnished yet intact, the clasp stubborn against his fingers. Inside, a faded photograph of a woman smiled back at him, her eyes gleaming with a warmth long extinguished. It was a clue, a piece of the puzzle he hadn't anticipated. A chill washed over Samuel again, but this time it wasn't from the cold. The locket felt heavy in his pocket as he turned to Rex, whose keen eyes scanned the surroundings. The bond between them deepened. They were kindred spirits lost in a world of echoes. Samuel's resolve solidified. He wasn't merely searching for answers. He was resurrecting his father's memory, piecing together a history shrouded in secrets. He stood taller, the weight of uncertainty now transforming into determination, fueled by the bond that tied him to both the past and the loyal dog at his side. Night enveloped the clearing, the stars flickering like distant lanterns in the dark. But Samuel's path was illuminated by newfound clarity. The cabin, a ghost of the past, whispered stories only he could hear, of lost love, betrayal, and redemption. He could feel the answers lying just beyond reach, tantalizing him with the promise of understanding. Rex barked softly, as if sensing the urgency of their mission. With one last look at the darkness encroaching around him, Samuel stepped forward into the shadows, his heart resolute, ready to uncover the truth that had eluded him for far too long. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the deserted homestead, as Jacob knelt beside the crumbling foundation. His German shepherd Rex stood alert by his side, hackles raised and nose twitching with curiosity. Grime and dirt stained Jacob's hands as he pried apart the weathered boards. The scent of damp earth mingled with the sweet decay of forgotten memories. He unearthed a rusted tin box, its hinges barely holding on, and felt his heartbeat quicken. Whatever lay within could change everything. With a deep breath, Jacob forced the box open, the creak of metal echoing in the stillness. Inside, faded photographs slipped through his fingers, revealing faces he barely recognized, worn by time yet etched with palpable emotion. Each image told a story of laughter and sorrow, a family torn apart. His gut twisted as he noticed a familiar figure, a man who looked strikingly like his late father, standing beside a woman whose eyes sparkled with joy. Questions surged through his mind, drowning out the chirp of crickets in the gathering dusk. Rex nudged his leg, sensing the turmoil within Jacob. He crouched down, his palm brushing the dog's ruffled fur. "What do you think, boy?" he murmured, feeling the weight of years of secrets pressing down like the evening chill. The dog tilted his head, as if understanding the gravity of the moment. Jacob's heart ached with confusion, wondering how many truths were buried beneath the very soil that surrounded him. There had to be a reason his father had kept this hidden, a reason he had felt the need to guard the past so fiercely. As dusk turned to night, Jacob tucked the box under his arm and walked toward the flickering light of the campfire. Shadows danced around him, as if taunting him with the specters of his family's history. His mother's voice echoed in his mind, cautioning him against digging too deep into the past. Yet he was drawn to the mystery like a moth to flame, unwilling to turn back now. Rex padded beside him, loyal and steadfast, a reminder that he was not alone in this journey. The crackle of the fire sparked with renewed energy as Jacob spread the photographs before him, their stories igniting a long-buried spark of resolve. Each face whispered of love and pain, connections forged in trials, histories intertwined in ways he could scarcely comprehend. The night air was thick with tension as he contemplated his next move. He was ready to confront the shadows lurking in his family's past, armed with nothing but a dog by his side, and the weight of the truth pulling him forward, guiding him deeper into the unknown. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting elongated shadows that danced between the gnarled trees. Jacob tightened his grip on the rifle slung across his shoulder, his heart hammering in rhythm with the distant rumble of thunder. Beside him, Max, his loyal German shepherd, whined softly, sensing the tension in the air. The forest was quiet, unnaturally so, as if the very earth held its breath. Jacob could feel a pull in his gut, an instinct burrowed deep through years of survival, warning him that something sinister lurked just beyond the veil of dusk. Each step forward felt heavier, weighed down by the anticipation of what lay ahead. Jacob's mind raced, replaying the cryptic messages scrawled in the dirt and the smudged footprints leading deeper into the woods. A fraying rope hung from a nearby branch, remnants of a struggle evident in the broken twigs and scattered leaves. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, transforming the mundane into eerie phantoms. Max's ears perked up, and he growled low in his throat, a primal warning that sent chills racing down Jacob's spine. They were not alone. Then a figure emerged from behind a tree, face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. The man's gait was slow, deliberate, as he stepped into the fading light. Jacob's breath hitched. Recognition clawed at his chest. It was Thomas, an old acquaintance turned foe, but the madness in his eyes spoke of far greater troubles. "You shouldn't have come here," Thomas rasped, each word laced with an unspeakable weight. Jacob's pulse quickened. He could feel the ghost of their shared past hanging thick in the air, a reminder that friendships were fragile pieces, easily shattered. A flash of metal glinted in Thomas's hand, and Jacob's instincts kicked in. He raised his rifle, the scope zeroing in on the threat before him. "Step back," Jacob shouted, his voice echoing in the stillness, a desperate plea wrapped in authority. Max barked, a fierce protector caught in the tension between loyalty and fear. Jacob's heart raced, the adrenaline surging through him, battling the memories of laughter shared with Thomas under the open sky. Now the laughter felt like a distant ghost, replaced by the oppressive weight of betrayal and regret. As the storm threatened to break overhead, Jacob could feel the storm raging within him. The choices he had made echoed through the forest, reverberating with each heartbeat. "I won't let you hurt anyone again," he declared, the words tasting like fire on his tongue. In that moment, Jacob was not just a man confronting his past. He was a guardian, fighting for what was right. The tension hung thick, a fragile string pulled taut between desperation and resolution, waiting for the spark that would ignite the inevitable clash. The wind howled through the valley, carrying with it the scent of danger. Jacob tightened his grip on the reins, his heart pounding like a drum, as he urged his horse onward. Beside him, Rex, his loyal German shepherd, darted through the tall grass, alert and ready. Shadows danced in the fading light, each rustle of leaves a reminder that time was slipping away. The sun dipped behind the jagged peaks, casting the world in hues of crimson and gold, but Jacob felt only the chill of urgency. He could not shake the nagging thought that the answers he sought lay just beyond the next ridge. As they crested the hill, a forgotten cabin loomed in the distance, its silhouette stark against the twilight sky. The boards sagged under the weight of neglect, whispers of secrets past woven into the wood grain. Jacob dismounted, his boots crunching on the gravel as Rex bounded ahead, nose to the ground, instincts flaring. Jacob's breath caught as he spotted a flicker of movement through the cracked window. Was it a trick of the fading light, or was someone still inside? A knot formed in his gut, constricting with every heartbeat. He had to know. He had to get inside before it was too late. Approaching the cabin, Jacob's senses heightened, every sound amplified in the stillness, every creak of the floorboards a reminder of the danger lurking within. Rex stood alert, ears perked as they crossed the threshold together. Dust motes floated in the dim light, and the air was thick with the musty scent of decay. He scanned the room, heart racing, seeking any clue that might illuminate the darkness surrounding his brother's disappearance. A scrap of paper on the table caught his eye, a hastily scrawled note with an unfamiliar scrawl. "Meet at the old mill, midnight." The ink was still fresh, a thread of hope weaving through the fear. Panic clawed at Jacob's throat, yet he pushed it down, compelled forward by the urgency of the message. He had to reach the old mill before midnight. Rex whined softly, sensing his master's turmoil, and Jacob knelt, smoothing his palm over the dog's fur. "We can't back down now, boy. We owe it to him." With renewed resolve, they bolted out of the cabin and back into the night, the cool air slicing through the tension. The world beyond felt alive, fraught with mysteries and restless spirits. But Jacob's focus was singular. He could almost hear his brother's laughter echoing in the distance, a beacon guiding him through the murky shadows. The ride to the mill was a blur of pounding hooves and racing thoughts. Jacob glanced at the stars, their brilliance almost mocking against the weight of his fears. Time seemed to stretch and contract with every passing moment, a relentless tide threatening to pull him under. As they neared the decrepit structure, its silhouette rose like a specter against the night sky, cloaked in mystery and dread. The mill stood abandoned, but he felt the pulse of energy within, the promise of revelations waiting to be uncovered. With Rex by his side, Jacob steeled himself, knowing that whatever awaited him inside could change everything. The final race had begun. The sun dipped low behind the jagged peaks, casting elongated shadows over the scraggly pines. Thomas knelt beside a gnarled root, his fingers brushing against the uneven earth. Jagger, his loyal German shepherd, sniffed the air, an uncanny awareness shimmering in his amber eyes. Thomas swallowed hard, recalling the whispers he had heard in town, hushed voices warning him of buried truths. With each scoop of dirt, he felt the weight of unspoken words, a grave burden that tugged at his heart. What had happened here? The question echoed in his mind, as heavy as the shovel in his hands. With every handful of soil, memories crept back, uninvited yet insistent. The laughter of his brother, once bright as the morning sun, felt like a ghost haunting the edges of his consciousness. They had shared dreams under these very stars, planning a life unmarred by darkness. Yet now the air thickened with the scent of decay, both literal and metaphorical. Secrets, like stones, lay hidden beneath the surface, and each revelation felt like a jagged shard embedding deeper into his soul. Jagger's low growl pulled him back from the abyss, urging him to confront the buried past. As the last clumps of earth fell away, something metallic glinted beneath the surface. Thomas's breath hitched as he reached down, heart racing with anticipation and dread. He grasped the object, pulling it free, a tarnished locket, its clasp stubborn against the years of neglect. Swallowing against the lump in his throat, he opened it to find a faded photograph. The faces were blurred, but he recognized the smile of his wife. Laughter caught in time. A wave of anguish crashed over him. The secrets of the past were not just his, but entangled with the lives of those he loved. The chill of the encroaching night settled on his shoulders like a cloak, heavy with the weight of discovery. Thomas dropped the locket, trembling fingers hovering over the earth as shadows danced in the fading light. Jagger nudged his side, a reassuring presence amid the turmoil. "What have I done?" he muttered, voice cracking under the strain of unearthing something meant to stay buried. The reality began to gnaw at him. How many lives had been shattered by the lies he had unwittingly inherited? Perhaps it wasn't just a secret, but a time bomb waiting for the right moment to explode. As darkness engulfed the landscape, Thomas stood, heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. He could no longer avoid the truth. The past would not let him be. Jagger whined softly, sensing the tempest within his master, and nudged against him reassuringly. "We'll face it together," Thomas whispered, gripping the locket tightly, the shadows whispering of the battles yet to come. The journey ahead felt daunting, but he was no longer running. The path to redemption beckoned, illuminated by the flickering lantern of hope, and he took a step forward into the unknown, ready to confront the storm that awaited. The wind howled through the valley, a ghostly whisper that carried the weight of generations. As Jonah trudged up the rocky path, his German shepherd Max padded silently beside him, ears perked for the slightest rustle among the underbrush. Each step felt like an echo of the past, the hard ground beneath his boots a testament to the lives lived and lost in this unforgiving wilderness. Jonah's heart raced, not from the exertion but from the palpable tension in the air, as if the very land held its breath, ready to divulge secrets buried long ago. The old homestead lay ahead, its silhouette stark against the bruised sky. Once a vibrant refuge, the crumbling walls spoke of laughter and sorrow, a duality etched into the timber. Jonah reached out, fingers brushing against the splintered doorframe, feeling the history seep through his skin. Memories flooded him, tales his father recounted by the fire about the settlers and their trials, stories that painted resilience in broad strokes. But buried beneath those tales was an undercurrent of fear, a shadow that whispered of a darkness that came to claim this place. As Max sniffed around, his body tense, Jonah caught sight of something glinting among the weeds, a rusted locket, weather-worn yet ornate. He picked it up, turning it over in his palm, a chill creeping up his spine. Inside, a faded photograph of a woman smiling back at him, her eyes mesmerizingly familiar. A chill surged through Jonah, linking him to a past he had never known, a connection that pulled at the edges of his subconscious. What had happened to her? A sudden urgency ignited within him. compelling him to delve deeper into the history that lay entwined with his own bloodline. Shadows danced as the sun dipped lower, and Jonah felt the enclosure of dusk wrapping around him. Stories of his ancestors echoed, intertwining with the present as he pieced together the fragments of mystery. He could almost hear their voices mingling with the wind, urging him to uncover the truth. Max barked suddenly, drawing Jonah's attention to the nearby barn, its doors creaking ominously as if beckoning him inside. Steeling himself, Jonah approached, heart pounding like a drum. The truth hidden within these walls lay dormant, waiting for someone brave enough to wake it. Inside, the scent of mildew overwhelmed him, but it was the sight of old furniture and dusty photographs that sent a shiver down his spine. He moved cautiously, each creak of the floorboards amplifying his anxiety. On a forgotten shelf, a diary lay, its leather cover cracked but inviting. As he opened it, the fragile pages revealed a world filled with heartache, unfulfilled dreams, and secrets that twisted through time. As the final rays of sun disappeared, leaving him enveloped in darkness, Jonah realized he was not just uncovering a history, he was reclaiming his own. The sun hung low in the western sky, casting amber hues across the rugged landscape. Sam sat on the worn wooden steps of his cabin, the rough edges biting into the backs of his legs. Beside him, Duke lay with his head resting on his paws, sensing the weight of the moment. Memories spiraled through Sam's mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind, laughter shared with friends long lost, the despair of estrangement from his father, the ache of longing for a life that felt just beyond reach. Each recollection twisted his heart, a bittersweet reminder of healing yet to come. Just beyond the clearing, a faint sound sliced through the stillness, a crack of twigs underfoot. Sam's breath hitched, eyes narrowing as he searched the shadows cast by the towering pines. Duke lifted his head, ears perked, his instinct urging caution. A figure emerged, cloaked in the morning fog, an aura of familiarity laced with tension. It was Jonah, Sam's estranged brother, the very embodiment of unspoken words and fractured bonds, his presence evoking a tempest of emotions. Sam's heart raced, caught between the instinct to flee and the desperate need for resolution. "Didn't expect to see you again," Jonah said, voice gravelly yet trembling as he stepped closer. Each word hung in the air, a thread woven with the possibility of reconciliation or further rift. Sam's grip tightened around the rough edge of the step, the wooden splinters digging into his palm, mirroring the pain of their history. Duke, sensing the rising tide of emotions, padded forward to sniff at Jonah, his warm presence an anchor amidst the whirlpool of tension. The moment felt suspended, an electric pulse that warned of change yet to come. "I never meant for it to end like this," Jonah continued, his eyes searching Sam's for a flicker of understanding. The vulnerability in his brother's voice cracked the armor around Sam's heart, revealing the tender flesh underneath, the yearning for connection, the desire to forgive. Sam couldn't help but recall their childhood, where laughter echoed against the mountains and dreams of adventure flowed as freely as the river nearby. Time had forged a chasm between them, but the ghost of their bond still lingered, whispering that healing was possible if only they dared to reach across it. With a shuddering breath, Sam finally stood, shaking off the weight of old wounds. "You don't know how much I've missed you," he said, voice barely above a whisper. The leap of faith felt monumental, yet as he stepped closer, the distance between them began to dissolve. Duke barked softly, as if urging them both to move forward, to embrace the path of mending that lay before them. In that moment, surrounded by the wild beauty of the frontier, hope flickered, a fragile flame ready to ignite the promise of a new beginning, forged from the ashes of their past. The sun dipped below the jagged peaks, casting an amber glow across the valley, as Daniel knelt beside the weathered grave marker. His fingers traced the engraved name, a bittersweet memory flooding his senses. Laughter, warmth, loss. The cool breeze whispered through the towering pines, carrying with it the scent of earth and pine needles. At his side, Rex, his loyal German shepherd, stood sentinel, eyes scanning the horizon. Daniel felt the weight of the past settle on his shoulders like a heavy cloak, urging him to confront the ghosts that lingered in this desolate place. Heart-pounding, he remembered the promise he'd made to return, to forge a life anew in the wild. Each step he took away from the grave felt like a reclamation of purpose, a call to rise from the ashes of sorrow. The landscape transformed before him, a canvas of potential, heartache, and hope. Rex moved alongside him, a steadfast presence sharing the weight of his resolve. Together, they climbed the rugged terrain, the mountain air filling Daniel's lungs with a fierce vitality. Each breath felt like a declaration, a move toward uncharted territory where possibility awaited. He set up camp beneath a sprawling oak, its branches arching toward the starlit sky like a welcoming embrace. As he stirred the fire, the flames danced, casting flickering shadows that whispered stories of adventure and discovery. Rex curled at his feet, alert yet serene, embodying the loyalty Daniel craved in a world that often felt shattered. The isolation was both comforting and daunting, a reminder that he was the architect of his own fate. He closed his eyes, imagining a future unburdened by the weight of grief, yet tethered to the lessons it had taught him. Yet, doubts crept in like the night mist, wrapping around his heart. What if the ghosts of yesterday were more persistent than he anticipated? What if this new beginning bore the scars of the past? A rustle in the underbrush startled Rex, who bolted upright, ears pricked. Daniel's pulse quickened as he scanned the darkness, half expecting to confront the remnants of his memories. But the forest remained still, holding its secrets close, just as he held his own. The flickering fire illuminated a path forward, but the shadows lurked, reminding him that he wasn't the only one seeking redemption. As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Daniel set to work, clearing land and planting seeds. He dug deep, allowing the physical labor to ground him, each shovel full of earth a small act of defiance against despair. Rex trotted beside him, a partner in every endeavor, as if sensing the significance of this moment. The first shoots of green pushed through the soil, a fragile promise of life and renewal. In that instant, surrounded by the beauty of the wilderness, Daniel understood that this chapter, however daunting, could indeed be the start of something extraordinary. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays across the fields, the farmer stood with his loyal German shepherd, Max, at his side. The discovery of the WW2 bomber had unearthed more than just metal and memories. It had rekindled whispers of a past long buried, intertwining the fate of a forgotten crew with his own family history. Each artifact pulled from the earth spoke of courage, loss, and the enduring bonds forged through shared struggle. Amidst the remnants of another era, the farmer felt a profound sense of connection, not only to those who had once soared through the skies, but also to his own roots, deeply embedded in the soil beneath his feet. Max nudged his hand, a gentle reminder of loyalty in the present, grounding him in the here and now. In that moment, he realized that home is not merely a place, but a tapestry woven from the threads of truth and memory. Though some secrets are heavy, they can illuminate paths toward understanding and healing. As he turned to walk back towards the farmhouse, the evening breeze whispered a promise. Sometimes, in uncovering the past, we find the courage to embrace the future.